attentive and have nice audience behaviors for a visitor here. Hopefully nobody will walk in on you.
That's all right.
Now, are
Okay.
you supposed to be in the recording though?
I can do that.
I think she probably wants you to pan the
That's
audience
fine.
first, just
Yeah.
to make sure there's 10, and then make sure the camera is
Okay.
on you in your presentations. Yep. Oh, okay. Maybe it should have filmed out too? Doesn't matter.
Thank you. All right. This presentation's on Submariners, the silent service. Speak softly and carry a big stick, you will go far. It's actually an old proverb, the Mayans, I believe, came up with it, and Theodore Roosevelt made it famous. And it speaks a lot to what the Submariners do. And so that's why I chose that. I'm Eli Gaisford. I did 4 years in the Navy. Had no idea what I was getting into when I signed up for submarines, volunteer service. But I did find out real quick that Navy is actually an acronym. It stands for Never Again Volunteer Yourself. And Submariners, nobody really thinks about us. Nobody really talks about us. I consider us one of the most elite forces. Everybody knows the Rangers. Everybody knows the SEALs. Nobody really knows the Submariners. So what makes the Submariners elite? Training and qualifications is one of them. Everything you do is training. Everything you do is qualified. Security and psychological clearances. You can't set foot on board a submarine without security, psychological screening. It's both written and verbal. Thinking on your feet is probably one of the biggest ones. Everybody has to know, I mean, your life depends on everybody on board. You have to know how to operate everything on board, at least a little bit. Some of the training and qualifications are, after you get out of basic training, you go to submarine school, and then you'll have either an A or a C or both. And that's where you get your training and your job. I had to do both. I was a navigation electronics technician, so I had to go to A school for electronics, and then I had to go to C school for navigation. Learn how to know water depth and how to use it, how to use the GPS systems and track where we're going. And then I was on a Trident submarine, so after that I had to go to a Trident submarine school in another state. Then once you get on board, you have to do qualifications. Submarine warfare is probably one of the biggest ones. You have a year to do it once you get on board. And you have to do a couple of watch station qualifications in order to get it. And the submarine qualification that's pretty strict. You have to study material on everybody's job. You have to go in and you have to get checkouts from these people that do the jobs on a regular basis. And they quiz you. You have to know how to operate the equipment, if there's a steam line rupture in the engine room, how do you switch those valves around so that steam can get out. So everybody has to know it. Your life depends on these people. So psychological and security clearances, I thought it was a pretty fitting picture for psychological clearances. You get written and verbal before you ever go on board. And then once you go on board, there's psychological screening that they do on board. Some people call it hazing, I call it psychological screening. You have to have a minimum of secret security clearance. I had to have top secret because of the charts that I worked on, but everybody has to have at least a secret just to go down the hatch to get on board. The ones I was on, it's a Trident class submarine, so it had up to 24 ballistic missiles on board, and they don't want that kind of information to leave. Nobody knows how many are actually on board, but you have up to 24. Thinking on your feet. Like I said a couple of times, your life depends on your shipmates. There's no fire department, no National Guard's going to come and rescue you. You don't have a police force. If somebody turns terrorist, who's going to take them down? It's going to be the shipmates on board. If there's a fire on board that's going toward an oxygen line, you could go up like that. That's what happened to the Scorpion. It sunk. It burned right through an oxygen line. So you have to know how to fight these fires. If you got water coming on board, you have to know how to open valves and let that water out. You have to know how to operate those valves and get to the surface as fast as possible. So that's what makes submarines elite. You have training, qualifications, clearances, thinking on your feet. You may not think of it very often, but these people are out there underwater, and that's a lot of what our nuclear deterrence is all about. You may not think about it, but you might have 24 ballistic missiles sitting off the coast of China, keeping them at bay. And to me, that makes us pretty elite. Now, a lot of the security issues prevent speaking about a lot of the ship's operations, but that's why submariners speak softly and carry a big stick.
All right. Well, very good. You know, that is true when you said people just don't think about submariners, is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Think of the other
Bubble heads.
branches and, yeah. It's very interesting. Notice the rating scale at the top of the paper, you guys.
Can I ask questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you have training after basic to get into that?
Yes, basic training is the first thing. As soon as you sign up, you go straight to basic. And if you don't, the submarine service is all volunteer. So if you don't volunteer for it, then they're gonna try to get you to go into BUDS or wherever, the diving school. If you volunteer for submarines, they can't take you. You're already
Do you do that when you sign up or like after basic?
I signed up for it as soon as I signed up for the Navy. It was within a day.
Like when you get airborne or something, added on your
Yeah.
contract?
And it's, you have to go through it. You go up to, after basic, you go to Connecticut, you go to basic submarine school. You have to wait for it. You go through, they call it AWSS, Waiting Submarine School. And then you go through your basic submarine school. It's like a 6-week class or so. It teaches you all the life-saving stuff. They have escape hatches. They're no good after you get down below 160 feet. So it's just something to make mom feel comfortable.
Are all the submarines nuclear powered?
All of them. They have about a 20-year lifespan on the nuclear reactors. And that's actually, the nuclear reactors that's how we get all of our water, all of our electricity. Because the only limiting factor when you go underwater is food. Once you're underwater, you can pull water in, and it goes through the steam generators, and once it's steam, it can be collected and turned into potable water. And going through the steam generators, that's how we create electricity. Yeah.
Are there ever moments when you're down there where you get claustrophobic and?
A lot of people would think, and I'm 6'2". There were only a couple places I bumped my head, but then again, the one I was on was a lot bigger. A lot of the fast attacks are smaller. They're maybe 30 feet tall or so. The one I was on was 4 stories.
Wow.
So.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and they have to be for the ICBMs to fit on there. Because they go in standing up, and then when you go to launch them, there's a nitrogen pocket that actually pushes them up, so they stay dry.
Have you ever faced a threat or any danger while you're on board?
No. Well, we had a couple of fires in the kitchen, but it wasn't anything major. But you drill all the time. I mean, I actually joined in August 2001, and had no idea that, about halfway through boot camp, all of a sudden we're at war, and thought, oh crap, that's not the wrong time.
So did you always know you wanted to do that? Or was
No, I'm still not sure I wanted to do that. But it was a good experience though.
So are you out of the Navy now completely, or?
Yes, I got out actually in 2005, and I've been pretty much all over the place since.
Good morning. Yes. Good job. Hopefully you were on in the picture.
Yeah, I actually got to turn that off.